All right, let's talk about this next story with Twitter. This is unbelievable. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle now. We now know that Twitter's San Francisco leftist political agenda extended to collusion with the federal government and the Democratic National Committee. So former Twitter employees have been giving a lot of interviews. I don't know if you've noticed this over the past few weeks. And the one I want to focus on, though, is from Yoel Roth. He's the former executive in charge of Twitter's trust and safety. He's the global head of trust and safety over there at Twitter. And the Twitter files, he played a direct role in the suppression of Hunter Biden's laptop story. A direct role. He was directly involved in getting the New York Post Twitter account banned. So recently, Yoel tried to play it off as some simple mistake where they were, simply erring on the side of caution. Of course, that's a total lie, because we now know that they were, in fact, in regular contact with the Democratic National Committee to block any mention of the damaging story. And they were in contact with the FBI. We now know this. In 2020, as far back as 2020, Roth submitted a declaration to the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, the FEC. Here it is, in his own words, dated December 2020. And by the way, Jack Prosovic broke this afternoon and got access to this document. So I want to give credit. Here is this is what it says. Declaration of Yoel Roth. My name is Yoel Roth. The declaration is made upon my personal knowledge and belief. Here I am, head of site integrity at Twitter, which is part of Twitter and Trust Department. Visitors to the Twitter website and users of mobile applications can report any content. That's what he does. So here is what he said about the Hunter Biden story in this declaration. During the week in 2018, I have had regular meetings with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and industry peers regarding election security. During these weekly meetings, the federal law enforcement agencies communicated that they expected hack and leak operations by state actors. They might occur in the period shortly before the 2020 presidential election, likely in October, the FBI told him. I was told in these meetings that the intelligence community expected the individuals associated with the political campaigns would be subject to hacking attacks, and that the material obtained through those hacking attacks would likely be disseminated over social media platforms, including Twitter. These expectations of hack and leak operations were discussed throughout 2020. I also learned in these meetings that there were rumors that a hack attack operation would involve Hunter Biden. So when in these interviews, then he just blows it off like, yeah, we were just erring on the side of caution. We heard some rumors about this. We were just erring on the side of caution. He was lying. He'd been primed for this by the Justice Department, according to these FEC documents. He later says that this was not done by the Biden campaign or the DNC. He says in this, declaration number 3, I did not receive any communications from or have any communications with representatives of Biden for president, the Democratic National Committee, or any of their agents regarding the New York Post articles before Twitter implemented the enforcement actions on the 14th of October, 2020. To the best of my knowledge, no Twitter employee received any communications from or had any communications with representatives of Biden for president, the DNC, or any of their agents regarding the New York Post articles before Twitter implemented the enforcement actions on October 14th, 2020. We now know that's not true. Whether Roth knew about it or not, we don't know. But we do know from Matt Taibbi's posts and his journalism that the DNC and the Biden camp was actively in contact with Twitter for content removal. We featured that this weekend when we broke the story. We had the breaking news coverage of this event and the Twitter files released. Of course, there's still to this day a backdoor portal, which we've been covering here on the show. And the government, between the government and Twitter, it's called the Twitter Partnership Program. And over the weekend, I had a chance to ask Elon Musk that question about this portal and why this thing is still in place. So here is my question to Elon Musk during the Twitter Spaces event. Watch his response. Watch. Hey, thanks, Elon. One of the stories we've been covering on our show over the past couple of months is Dr. Shiva's lawsuit. He was banned from Twitter running for the Senate from Massachusetts, and one of the things in his lawsuit that was uncovered was the back-end government portal to both Facebook and Twitter, the trusted Twitter partnership. And I know on Twitter's blog that trusted Twitter partnership between Twitter and someone with a government email address can reach out to Twitter and basically have accounts banned, taken down. Is that portal, is that trusted partnership still available to the government? And given what you've released in the Twitter files, does it make sense for that to still be there?
I got to dig into this trusted partnership thing. Obviously that has like some Big Brother vibes. Twitter will adhere to the law, but it will not do. It's not going to go beyond the laws. And if there are laws that don't seem to be in the interest of the people, then Twitter will push to change the laws to be in the interest of the people. I'll dig into this trusted partnership thing, find out what's going on.
So, to be fair, he's got a lot on his plate. It's been a month since he's been on the job, but he's going to dig into it. And this was a big, piece of this puzzle is, of course, that Facebook still has their own portal, and this was revealed during Dr. Shiva's lawsuit also. So these backdoor government portals to these social media companies. If they're still there, then how can we engender trust with Elon and Twitter?
Well, that would make sense.
It's a fair question.
Remember, when we got suspended a while back, our video had been up, and we were kind of speculating it might have been Pfizer, and so there was probably a backdoor, I would assume, for them as well.
Right. Yeah. And as someone in the chat says, wait, you guys got to talk to him? Yes, we talked to him on, I think, on Friday night? No, Saturday night. I think, I talked to...
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday.
So, but, and T. Jones in Rumble says he didn't know about it. It sounds like, look, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm sure he's heard about the Twitter partnership thing. I don't think he's aware about the deepness of it. He's just been there a month. I don't know that he knows about it. In detail. I'm sure he's probably has someone looking at it now more closely. I don't know. I'm just being cynical here, but I don't think he knew much about it, to be honest with you. Maybe they kept it from him. There was a lot of stuff that they kept from him, right? So maybe he didn't know about it. He had no idea about it. Interesting. And I'm surprised, actually, this hasn't even come up yet in the Twitter files. Here's the access door. Here's the portal where this happens. And by the way, the mainstream media is totally quiet on this subject. Crickets. No discussion. I haven't seen anybody else talking about it
yet.
No, on these backdoor portals, like the Gateway Pundit and Redacted are like the only two. I haven't seen anyone else covering the Facebook portal and Twitter's backdoor access. It's not. No one's talking about it. And you'd think tech journalists would be really interested. This is really pisses me off about the tech press. You think The Verge, you think these other, tech platforms, Recode or whatever the hell they're called, would be actively...
TechCrunch, Mashable.
They would really be interested in this story. You mean there's a backdoor portal between the government and Facebook and Twitter? Let's dive into that a little bit now. Quiet. So, Yoel Roth was just interviewed at the Informed conference. The theme of the event is Conversations on Democracy in the Digital Age. The event was moderated by Kara Swisher. Here's another person who masquerades as a journalist and who should have been asking questions about the Twitter partnership portal and how all this worked and how the government's able to leak. No questions about that. But of course, she can't hide her political bias in these discussions. They covered a lot of ground, but there were a couple of key takeaways that I want to cover here. Number one, is Hunter Biden in this story, this is the big piece, right? This is the main story that I want to hear about, is this Hunter Biden piece. Here, Roth explains to Kara Swisher the heavily debunked Russia interference as the basis for blocking the Hunter Biden story. Watch.
And also critically, how do you think about what those threat actors might do? And so as we are threat modeling the 2020 election, it's obvious to think about the most influential thing that impacted the 2016 election, which was the hack and leak campaign organized by the Russian government. And so we would have been stupid not to think about that risk.
Right. So what happened there?
And so the morning of the Hunter Biden story in the New York Post happens, and it was weird, right? With distance and with what we know now, we forget some of the weirdness. But do you remember the laptop repair guy? Do you remember the uncertainty of the whole story? We didn't know what to believe. We didn't know what was true. There was smoke, and ultimately for me, it didn't reach a place where I was comfortable removing this content from Twitter. But it set off every single one of my finely tuned APT28 hack and leak campaign alarm bells.
So it looked possibly problematic.
Everything about it looked like a hack and leak and smelled like a hack and leak.
You did not want to do that.
But it didn't get there for me.
Right.
And this is, the work of content moderation is write a policy, create a system of governance, and then evaluate some new crazy situation against those standards.
Why the need to do it?
So he's lying. He submitted a declaration to the FEC that he'd been warned about this story. And now he's telling a fiction about coming up with the story like everyone else was on the internet. Oh, like, what's this? What's this mysterious story? It's kind of weird. There's a laptop repair guy. Remember that guy who had his life ruined as a result of it? There was no hack. And this, of course, is the biggest misnomer about the whole thing. The laptop repair guy didn't hack the laptop. It was left in his office. And the FBI had it for almost a year and did nothing with it and suppressed the story. That's the truth. And then because they labeled this guy a hacker, it was a hack job. It was a hack and leak or whatever the hell they called it. Hack and leak. And then it violates our hacked news policy. They ruined this guy's business as a result. He didn't hack anything. People forget that. So this is something new and totally perplexing. I mean, this is like, wow, we just came up this morning and we found out about this Hunter Biden laptop story suddenly. Wow, that's so odd. What should we do about it? You're lying. So, for example, Roth goes on to claim that the content from the libs of TikTok is also dangerous. And the satire from the likes of the Babylon Bee is dangerous and specifically suggests that they threaten the lives of people within the trans community. Watch this.
Okay, Babylon Bee, which is what got him to buy the thing, I think.
That's the
one which was not particularly funny. The Babylon Bee's Man of the Year is Rachel Levine. Not funny.
Yeah.
Actually, it is pretty funny.
And you can ask.
I didn't agree they should have taken that down, but go ahead.
It's interesting. It's interesting to think about what the competing tensions around that are. And I want to start by acknowledging that the targeting and the victimization of the trans community on Twitter is very real, very life-threatening, and extraordinarily serious. We have seen from a number of Twitter accounts, including libs of TikTok notably, that there are orchestrated campaigns that particularly are singling out a group that is already particularly vulnerable within society. And so, yeah, not only is it not funny, but it is dangerous, and it does contribute to an environment that makes people unsafe in the world.
Okay, so let's just get this right with libs of TikTok, because that's the one he really zeroed in on. It's very dangerous. So these people post videos of themselves on TikTok in their own voice, unfiltered, and then the Twitter account libs of TikTok retweets their content with no memeology, doesn't add anything to it, nothing. And that's dangerous?
Well, I think they're saying it's dangerous because a lot of, some of those people that have been teachers have lost their jobs. They've been suspended because a lot of these, educating, like schools don't know that their teachers are teaching kids this stuff and talking about the things these people are doing. So maybe in that way is how they're thinking it's dangerous, because it's actually, if you put something out online, it actually can affect your life.
Yeah, like maybe they're learning for the first time because they didn't watch it on TikTok. Like, so it had to wait till it got to Twitter before you paid attention to it, which I find garbage anyway. We know the speed with which it runs on TikTok. But yeah, so your point,
well,
like,
that's because it's outside of their millions of viewers of people that are celebrating those things. Like, it's like they got this little echo chamber, and if you post it outside the echo chamber and they have real world repercussions, that's bad.
Yeah, so I guess, now we learned that Mrs. Jackson's class, she's making sure that the preschoolers know all about the different pronouns to be using. And the drag show that they had this afternoon in the school, like, now we learned about it because of Libs of TikTok. But you already posted it on your TikTok channel. So anyway, it's dangerous now. So we need to ban their account. We need to suspend them. And Babylon Bee is satire. It's actually pretty damn funny. If you've ever read any Babylon Bee stuff, it's pretty funny. But of course, everyone wants to know the thought process behind banning Donald Trump and January 6th. So here we get to hear more spin and garbage. Here he says he was compelled to take action because of, this is amazing. And it's all about these guys, right? It's all about the content moderators. We got to really feel bad for him. He said he was compelled to take action on Donald Trump because of the trauma that he and other content moderators experienced online that day. A day that will live in infamy. Watch.
Donald Trump.
That one I don't think was a mistake.
January 6th.
So it starts on the 6th, but it also starts prior to that.
That's correct.
In the weeks leading up, in the weeks between Election Day and January 6th, Twitter moderated.
I love that. Kara Swisher, that's correct. Like, yes, I am the narcissist. I am the absolute, like, yes, absolutely. You are correct. Whatever. I'm going to be the one that's like checking you in real time on that. So this all happened before January 6th. You are correct.
Hundreds. I think the final number ended up as like 140 separate tweets from just at Real Donald Trump that violated various policies.
Yes, he was good at that.
Integrity policy.
Yeah.
Every morning it was a new tweet. Much of it was recirculating some of the same narratives, and all of it was focused on the ultimately false claim that the 2020 election had been stolen. And so we're going into the events of the 6th, and there's that context. There's the centrality of his account in
So you let him get away with it for a long time, in other words.
Well, we've been enforcing on it.
You let the president of the United States speak. You let him get away with that. How dare you? You let him get away with that for a long time.
Right, so we restricted the tweets, we put warnings on them, you couldn't like them, you couldn't retweet them, but we didn't ban him because it was a relevant part of a moment in American politics.
Right.
The events of the 6th happen, and if you talk to content moderators who worked on January 6th, myself included, the word that nearly everybody uses is trauma. We experienced those events, not some of us as Americans, but not just as Americans or as citizens, but as people working on sort of how to prevent harm on the internet. We saw the clearest possible example of what it looked like for things to move from online to off. We saw we saw the way that rhetoric about a stolen election was being mobilized on sites like the Donald.win.
Sure.
We saw the trafficking of this content in the fringe parts of the internet, and we saw people dead in the Capitol as a consequence of it.
Oh, yeah. It's the trauma. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for all the content moderators out there. It's all about him.
I would say, I want to point out, I highly doubt that it troubled anybody at Twitter to ban Trump. They were salivating for the opportunity. I don't think anybody was troubled by that.
Oh, they were just waiting. I bet they had a party.
Didn't do anything. Like, where was the trauma when Clinton was saying that the 2016 election was stolen? Where was the trauma on that day?
Yeah,
it
was just I saw all the bodies. I saw all the bodies at the Capitol, and I knew
they went to a website. They organized on a website.
I knew that Twitter was responsible, and all of us content moderators. The trauma was severe. Oh, poor you. It's all about you, of course. He says he was terrified.
Could you imagine like being one of those people that worked at Twitter and there's like one person is sitting there breaking down at their desk and all the other people are around her patting her on the back like, it's fine, it's going to be okay. We just banned him. We just banned Trump. It's fine. Everybody, we just banned him. You can all relax, stop crying, get out of your sleep pods. Put your granola bars down.
It's okay now. It's all okay. But meanwhile, no one's even there. They're all at home anyway. They don't even work in the office. So,
Right.
So, oh, poor you, He says he was terrified that red MAGA-hatted Trump supporters were going to come after him after he labeled certain tweets misinformation. Watch.
But what are you worried about these Twitter files coming out? And what was that experience like having Kellyanne, who's always in control of herself, sicking this MAGA trolls on you?
It's terrifying. I thought I was going to be a college professor for a living. I got a PhD and was doing research that nobody cared about, and then I was like, oh, this platform thing is cool. Like, I can go and do research there, and then one thing led to another, and all of a sudden we apply a misinformation label to Donald Trump's account, and I'm on the cover of the New York Post, and that is a deeply terrifying experience. And I say this from a position of unquestioned privilege as a cis white male. Like, the internet is much scarier and much worse for lots of other people who aren't me, but it was pretty fucking scary for a long time.
What was the
as a result
part?
of that? When you get targeted in some of these ways, it's hard to differentiate between what is somebody just online trying to rattle you and what's a real threat. You see in things like Pizzagate that online conspiracies can mobilize very real and very direct offline violence, and I worry about that. I had been doxxed years before by teenagers, actually. They're always behind it. But,
So it's all about him. I mean, it's really, really sad. So, you label the president of the United States as misinformation from your Twitter throne, and you wonder why you wind up on the front page of the New York Post.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we have just a moment of silence for all of the Twitter employees that had to go through that on that day? Just really quick.
I just...
My glasses off too. Take my hat off.
All the Twitter employees who experienced trauma on that day. We feel you. We feel you. I'm sorry.
I don't.
Me too.
I'm sorry. I just ate a habanero. I'm sorry.
From the man wouldn't let us eat meat.
So, Twitter actively censoring the president of the United States, actively involved in covering up and colluding with the government on these stories, actively participating in political suppression of information that could have had an absolutely detrimental effect to then candidate Joe Biden. We're not allowed to find out about Hunter Biden's connections in Ukraine, how much money he's making there. All of the, I love how liberals try to say, well, it's all about Hunter Biden. Well, we didn't run. Hunter Biden's not the president. Oh, but all of the tentacles around it and how much money was being, flowed into Ukraine and other places because of Hunter Biden's connections there. Like, this goes beyond Hunter Biden. The story is not Hunter Biden. The story is Joe Biden. And so they can deflect all they want to, and they can pretend that it's not, but that's exactly what it is. And they're lying. They're lying. And we're going to keep exposing these punks. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at Redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to Redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.